The air tasted wrong. That was Goku's first thought as he pushed himself up from the crater in the middle of what appeared to be a city street. Not the familiar ozone of a Kamehameha gone wild. Not the metallic tang of blood from a good fight. Not even the scorched earth smell of a planet about to explode. This air was thick with exhaust fumes, rotting garbage, and something chemical that made his Saiyan senses recoil. Around him, car alarms shrieked, people screamed, and the hole he'd made in the asphalt smoked gently. Kakarot, if this is another one of your idiotic training ideas, I'm going to… Vegeta's threat died mid-sentence as he emerged from his own impact site 20 feet away, taking in their surroundings with the tactical assessment of a warrior prince. Where the hell are we? Goku scratched his head. That familiar gesture of confusion that had preceded so many world-ending crises. I don't know. One second we were sparring with Whis, and then that weird portal opened up and… He paused, his expression shifting from confused to deeply troubled. Vegeta, I can't sense any ki. The Saiyan prince froze. His hand instinctively moved to his chest, reaching for the energy that should have been there, as natural as breathing. Nothing. The universe felt dead around them, like trying to hear in a soundproofed room. Impossible. Everyone has Kai, even the weakest. Not here, Goku said quietly, and for the first time in years, Vegeta heard something in Kakarot's voice he'd almost forgotten existed: uncertainty. The crowd that had been fleeing their arrival suddenly stopped. Phones emerged like a forest of glowing rectangles, all pointed at the two warriors. Goku waved sheepishly, still dressed in his orange guy, while Vegeta's Saiyan armor drew particularly intense attention. The murmurs started immediately. Are they new soups? Did Vaut announce these guys? Someone call A-Train. There are unauthorized capes in his territory. Soups? Goku turned to Vegeta. What's a soup? Before Vegeta could respond with his own ignorance, a sonic boom cracked the sky. Both Saiyans' heads snapped upward, old instincts from thousands of battles, and what they saw made Goku's friendly smile falter and Vegeta's eyes narrow to slits. A man descended from the sky, not flying with Kai control, not riding Nimbus, but simply hovering, as if gravity was a suggestion he chose to ignore. He wore a costume that seemed designed by someone who'd never seen actual combat: bright blue and red, a cape that served no tactical purpose, and an American flag motif that struck both warriors as oddly nationalist for a fighter. But it was his face that truly unsettled them. The smile was too wide, too perfect, too practiced. The eyes were ice blue and completely, utterly empty of the joy that should accompany real strength. Well, 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 the man said, his voice carrying that particular resonance of someone who expected to be obeyed. Two new faces, unauthorized superhuman activity in New York City. That's a VOT violation, gentlemen. I'm going to need you to come with me for registration and… His smile somehow widened. Processing. Goku stepped forward, hand extended in greeting. That bottomless optimism intact, despite the wrongness screaming through his instincts. Hi, I'm Goku, and this is Vegeta. We're not sure how we got here, but we're not looking for trouble. We just need to figure out how to get back home. Are you a strong fighter? Your energy feels… strange? The man blinked, his practiced smile flickering for just a microsecond. Energy? Kid, I don't know what backwater lab cooked you up, but I'm Homelander. The Homelander, leader of the Seven, the greatest superhero who ever lived. He drifted closer, and both Saiyans caught a scent that made their warrior instincts scream danger. Not the smell of a predator, but something worse: entitlement. Unchecked power without discipline. And you're going to show me some goddamn respect. Vegeta's laugh was sharp and utterly without humor. The greatest hero? You reek of arrogance without the strength to back it up. I've killed gods with more humility than you possess. Homelander's eyes began to glow red. Vegeta, wait, Goku started, but the Saiyan prince was already moving, muscle memory from 10,000 battles overriding caution. He launched himself at Homelander with a speed that should have been impossible without ki enhancement, pure Saiyan biology at work. Homelander's heat vision fired. Twin beams of concentrated thermal energy that had carved through buildings, melted steel, and incinerated anyone foolish enough to challenge him. Vegeta twisted midair, the beam scorching past him by millimeters, and his fist connected with Homelander's jaw with a crack that echoed off the surrounding buildings. The leader of the Seven went flying backward, crashing through a parked car and into a storefront. The crowd's screams reached a new pitch. Cameras captured everything. Vegeta landed, shaking out his hand with a grimace. Tsh! Without Kai, that barely had any force behind it. But did you see his face, Kakarot? Shock. He's never been hit before. Homelander emerged from the wreckage, cape singed, perfect hair mussed, and for the first time his mask dropped. The smile was gone. What replaced it was rage so pure, so childlike in its totality, that both Saiyans recognized it immediately. A being who had never been told no, never faced a challenge he couldn't obliterate, never learned the discipline that true strength required. You hit me, Homelander whispered, his voice no longer carrying that practiced heroic timbre. Now it was something else, something broken. Nobody hits me. I'm the upgrade. I'm the future. I'm a god. Goku's expression shifted, the friendly confusion melting into something harder. He'd heard those words before, from Frieza, from Cell, from every tyrant who mistook power for virtue. You're not a god. Gods train. Gods struggle. Gods protect people weaker than themselves. He glanced at the terrified crowd, at the phone still recording, at the destruction caused by just one exchange. You just have power you didn't earn. I'm going to kill you, Homelander said simply. Both of you. Slowly. And everyone's going to watch and understand what happens when you challenge Homelander. 3 more figures descended from the sky. A woman in a silvery outfit who practically glowed with light. A man crackling with electricity. Another in black tactical gear carrying enough weapons to arm a small country. The 7, or at least part of them, assembling like a corporate hit squad. Vegeta and Goku instinctively moved back to back, falling into a formation perfected through years of fighting together against impossible odds. But something was desperately wrong. Goku reached for his ki, trying to power up to Super Saiyan, and felt nothing. The well was dry. Vegeta's attempt to generate even a basic ki blast produced only a faint flicker before dying completely. Kakarot, Vegeta said quietly, his pride warring with tactical reality. We're trapped in a universe without ki. We're fighting on Saiyan biology alone. We're weaker than we've been in years, Goku finished, but not helpless, never helpless. Homelander's smile returned. But it was a predator's expression now, all teeth and promised violence. What's wrong? Power's not working? Welcome to reality, assholes. You're in my world now. The leader of the 7 raised his hand, and his team spread out in a practiced formation. The crowd, instead of fleeing, pressed closer with their cameras. Some were cheering. Some were chanting Homelander's name. These people, Goku realized with growing horror, thought this was entertainment. They'd been conditioned to see violence from their heroes as spectacle. High above, on a building's rooftop, a figure in a black coat watched through binoculars. Billy Butcher lowered them slowly, a savage grin spreading across his face. Well, well, 2 new soups who just punched the world's biggest cunt in his goddamn face. And they look as confused as virgins in a brothel. He pulled out his phone. Oi, Huey, get the team together. I think we just found our newest weapons. Back on the street, Goku dropped into a fighting stance that had defended Earth countless times, powered by nothing but muscle, bone, and a warrior's heart. Vegeta mirrored him, pride refusing to bow even as his energy reserves sat at near zero. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. Hope shines brightest in the darkest night, Goku said, his voice carrying that unshakable optimism even as Homelander's eyes began to glow again. But right now, we've got a fight to survive. The 7 attacked as one, and the Saiyans learned their first hard lesson about the boys' universe. Here, the strongest beings were also the most corrupt, the most broken, and the most willing to kill for their egos. And somewhere, in a gleaming Vought International Tower, screens captured every second of two unknown individuals who could hurt Homelander without Compound V, without superpowers, with nothing but raw physical prowess. Scientists leaned forward. Executives made calls. Madeline Stillwell, before her untimely death, would have recognized the look in their eyes. Opportunity. The fight was just beginning, but Goku and Vegeta had already changed the boys' universe forever. The question wasn't whether they could survive in a world without Kai. The question was whether this corrupt world could survive two warriors who'd never compromised their principles, no matter how powerful their enemies became. The fight lasted 37 seconds. Not because Homelander won. The leader of the Seven had never encountered opponents who could read his movements like a children's book, who dodged his heat vision with the casual efficiency of warriors who'd faced planet-destroying energy blasts. But because Vegeta made a tactical decision that every fiber of his Saiyan pride screamed against. Kakarot, retreat, now. Goku caught Queen Maeve's punch. The woman had real training, he could tell, unlike the others who relied purely on their compound-given strength, and shoved her back hard enough to send her skidding across the asphalt. But we can't fly. We can't sense their locations. We can't power up if they overwhelm us. Vegeta's fist caught A-Train mid-charge. The speedster's overconfidence in his velocity meeting a warrior who'd fought opponents faster than light. The crack of impact was sickening. This isn't our world. We need information before we can fight properly. Homelander's heat vision carved through a parked bus, missing Goku by inches as the Saiyan twisted away. The bus exploded, showering the street in flaming debris. Civilians screamed. Several were hit by shrapnel. Homelander didn't even glance at them. That decided it for Goku. Any lingering hope that these heroes were actually protectors died as he watched Homelander firing lethal beams through a crowd to hit his target. Okay, we go. The Saiyans moved as one, their raw speed, even without Kai enhancement, still beyond what these soups could track. They vanished into an alley, then another, using every technique of evasion they'd learned from guerrilla fighting against Frieza's forces. Behind them, Homelander's rage echoed off buildings. Find them! I want every camera, every satellite, every goddamn superhero in this city looking for those two. Nobody makes me look weak. 3 blocks away, tucked into the darkened loading dock of an abandoned warehouse, Vegeta and Goku finally stopped. Both were breathing hard, not from exhaustion, but from the disturbing realization of their vulnerability. In their universe, they could shatter planets. Here, they were powerful but mortal in ways they hadn't been since childhood. This is absurd, Vegeta snarled, slamming his fist into a concrete wall. It crumbled, but didn't explode into dust like it should have. Reduced to fleeing from second-rate warriors with delusions of godhood. They're not warriors at all, Goku said quietly, and something in his tone made Vegeta look at him sharply. The younger Saiyan's expression was troubled in a way Vegeta had rarely seen. Did you notice? That hero didn't care when his attack hurt those people. He was aiming through them. And the crowd. They were cheering for him anyway. Before Vegeta could respond, a British-accented voice cut through the darkness. That's because they're all cunts, mate. Every last one of them. Both Saiyans spun, dropping into fighting stances. 5 figures emerged from the shadows, but these weren't wearing garish costumes. They looked like soldiers, mercenaries, or, Vegeta's tactical mind supplied, guerrilla fighters. The man in front wore a black coat and carried himself with the casual violence of someone who'd killed many times and lost sleep over none of it. Easy there, lads. Name's Billy Butcher. These are the boys. He gestured to his team. A nervous-looking younger man. A compact woman radiating barely controlled rage. A well-dressed man with an almost gentle expression that didn't match the calculation in his eyes. And a silent woman whose fingers never strayed far from her weapons. And I think we can help each other. Goku straightened slightly, reading body language the way he'd learned to read power levels. You're not with them. Those heroes. Superheroes. Butcher's laugh was harsh. Is that what you think they are? Nah. They're soups. Corporate weapons made in labs, pumped full of Compound V since they were babies. and sold to the American public as saviors. He pulled out a flask, took a drink, and offered it to Goku, who politely declined. They rape, they murder, they cause more damage than they prevent, and Vought International makes billions selling the lie that they're heroes. Vegeta's eyes narrowed. You're telling us those pathetic beings acquired their power through a chemical? Not training? Not discipline? Not a lick of it, the young man, Huey, said, stepping forward nervously. My girlfriend got run through by A-Train. He was high on Compound V racing another soup for no reason and he went through her, laughed it off. Vought paid me to shut up. His voice hardened. I took the money, then joined Butcher to burn it all down. Goku's fists clenched. He'd fought gods and monsters, but he'd always believed they earned their power, for good or ill. The idea of giving strength to people without the discipline to use it responsibly, without the training to understand its weight. That's wrong. Power like that should be earned. Should be understood. You can't just give it to people. Oh, but they can, the woman, Mother's Milk, based on Butcher's introduction, said bitterly. Vought gives V to babies, creates superheroes, markets them like action figures and makes billions. Homelander, their greatest creation, also their biggest mistake. He's a psychopath with the power of a god and the emotional development of a toddler. We noticed, Vegeta said dryly. The tantrum when I hit him was almost entertaining. Butcher's grin was savage. You hit him? That's bloody beautiful. See, here's the thing. Nobody hits Homelander. He's invincible, or as close as makes no difference in this world. Laser eyes that cut through steel. Flight. Strength that can bench press a fighter jet. Hearing so sharp, he can detect a heartbeat from a mile away. He's Vought's golden boy, the face of superheroism, and the most dangerous motherfucker on the planet. He leaned forward. So when I watched you two newcomers with no V in your systems, according to my sources, actually land a blow that made him bleed, I knew you were special. We're Saiyans, Goku said simply. Where we come from, we're not the strongest, not even close. But we've trained our whole lives to protect people. It's just, here, something's wrong. I can't feel anyone's energy. Can't power up properly. It's like fighting blind. The Frenchman, Frenchie, perked up. Energy? You mean, like, internal power source? Not chemical enhancement? Kai, Vegeta explained, his tactical mind recognizing potential allies who at least understood the corruption they faced. Life energy. Every living thing possesses it. Where we come from, warriors train to harness it, to sense it, to use it in combat. But here, he gestured vaguely. Nothing. This universe is a void. Because it's all Compound V, Huey said, understanding dawning. Power doesn't come from within here. It's injected, artificial. That's why you can't sense it. It's not natural. Which means, Butcher said slowly, his tactical mind clearly working through implications. You two are operating on pure genetics. No V, no enhancement, just raw alien biology, and you can still hurt Homelander. His smile could have cut glass. Gentlemen, how would you like to help us kill some soups? The word hung in the air like a blade. Kill? Goku's voice was soft, but there was steel underneath. We don't kill unless there's no other choice. Not anymore. Really? The woman Kimiko signed something rapidly, Frenchie translated. She asks, what would you do if someone with the power to destroy cities used it to assault women, murder witnesses, and terrorize anyone who discovered the truth? What if legal systems couldn't touch them? What if they were worshipped as heroes despite being monsters? Vegeta's expression was unreadable. He'd been that monster once, before Earth changed him. We'd find a way to stop them without becoming murderers ourselves. Noble, Butcher said, without mockery. Stupid, but noble. Problem is, soups don't get arrested. Vought owns the police, the government, the media. When a soupy commits a crime, it disappears. When they kill someone, he pulled out his phone, showed them a video. A superhero in a bright costume casually snapping a civilian's neck for filming him without permission. The body crumpled. The soup flew away. The news reported it as a tragic accident. This is your new reality, mates. In this world, the heroes are the villains, and the only justice is what we make ourselves. Goku watched the video, his expression growing colder with each replay. This wasn't Frieza's honest tyranny or Cell's elegant evil. This was corruption wearing a smile, murder disguised as heroism, power without responsibility or consequence. There has to be another way, he said, but his conviction wavered for the first time in years. Maybe you'll find it, Butcher said, standing. But while you're looking, Homelander's out there hunting you. Vought scientists want to dissect you to understand how you hurt their golden boy without V. The Seven are mobilizing every asset to find you. And sooner or later, they'll corner you in a place with witnesses, and you'll have to choose between your principles and survival. A phone buzzed. Mother's Milk checked it, his expression darkening. Butcher. Vought just issued a statement. They're calling our two new friends unauthorized foreign supervillains who attacked Homelander without provocation. They've got footage edited to make it look like you two started the fight. Public sentiment's already turning. Vegeta's laugh was bitter. Of course they did. Manipulate the narrative. Make the victims the aggressors. Classic tyrant behavior. The difference, Huey said quietly, is that in your world, I'm guessing tyrants eventually got punched into submission. Here, they own the truth. They control what people believe. Homelander could murder a baby on live television, and Vought would spin it as saving the world from a future terrorist. Goku stood slowly, his mind working through impossible moral calculus. In his universe, strength determined right and wrong eventually. The strongest protected the weak, or they were overthrown by someone stronger who would. But here, strength was divorced from earned virtue. These soups had power handed to them without wisdom, without discipline, without the 1,000 failures that taught real warriors restraint. We need to meet them, Goku said suddenly. The Seven. Not to fight, to understand. If they're really as broken as you say, maybe we can save them. Butcher's expression was pitying. Mate, you can't save someone who doesn't want saving. Homelander's been this way since he was created in a lab. No parents, no love, just scientists testing his limits and teaching him he was superior to everyone. You think a few strong words from flying monkey men are going to fix decades of narcissistic conditioning? No, Vegeta said quietly, surprising everyone. But Kakarot's right about one thing. We need intelligence. We're blind here. Can't sense energy, don't understand the power structure, don't know who's actually dangerous versus who's just loud. He fixed Butcher with a stare that had made gods reconsider their life choices. You want our help against these soups? Fine. But first, you tell us everything. How Compound V works, who actually runs Vought, what weaknesses these manufactured heroes have, and most importantly, his smile was sharp, how we get our power back. Butcher studied them for a long moment, then nodded slowly. All right, but this conversation happens somewhere secure. Homelander can hear a conversation from blocks away if he focuses. We need to get underground, somewhere with interference. He turned to his team. Frenchie, prep the safe house. Make sure we're not followed. Huey, grab the Compound V files. If these two want the full story, they're getting it. As the boys moved to execute their tasks, Kimiko approached Goku, signing rapidly. Frenchie translated with a small smile. She says you remind her of someone who believed heroes were real. She hopes this world doesn't break that part of you. Goku's smile was sad. I've had my innocence broken before. I learned the universe isn't fair, that good people suffer, that power corrupts. But I also learned that giving up on hope just makes you another villain. He looked at Kimiko directly. If these soups are as bad as you say, we'll stop them. But we'll do it our way, without becoming monsters ourselves. Good luck with that, Butcher said, already walking toward a hidden exit. Because I guarantee you before this is over, you're going to be faced with a choice. Kill Homelander or watch him kill hundreds more innocents. And when that moment comes, your principles are going to feel real bloody heavy. Vegeta and Goku exchanged glances. They'd faced that choice before, with Frieza, with Cell, with Majin Buu. Sometimes they'd chosen mercy. Sometimes that mercy had cost lives. The weight of those decisions never got lighter. But as they followed the boys into the shadows of this corrupt world, Both Saiyans felt the same disturbing realization. In this universe, they weren't the strongest beings. They were warriors without their greatest weapons, facing enemies who wore heroes' faces while committing villains' deeds. The real fight was just beginning. And somewhere in Vout Tower, Homelander stood before floor-to-ceiling windows, his reflection perfect and terrible, already planning how he'd make the two aliens scream before he killed them on live television. After all, the world needed to be reminded. Nobody hits Homelander. Nobody. The safe house was a converted subway maintenance tunnel beneath Brooklyn, shielded by enough steel and concrete that even Homelander's super hearing couldn't penetrate it. Goku sat cross-legged on the floor, examining a vial of glowing blue liquid with the innocent curiosity that had gotten him into trouble countless times. Vegeta stood with arms crossed, studying the walls covered in photographs, documents, and red string connecting a conspiracy so vast it made Frieza's empire look disorganized. Compound V, Frenchie explained, gesturing to the vial in Goku's hand. The source of all soupy powers. Invented by Frederick Vout, a Nazi scientist brought to America after World War II. They inject it into babies, usually without parental consent, and it bonds with their DNA, granting abilities. Super strength, flight, invulnerability, energy projection, all random. All permanent. You give this to babies? Goku's voice carried an edge of horror that made even Butcher pause. They can't consent, can't choose. You just force power onto them? Vought does, Mother's Milk corrected. We're trying to stop it. Problem is, most of the world doesn't know. They think soups are natural-born miracles, divine gifts. Vaught's marketing department makes sure of it. Vegeta traced the red string connecting photographs of children to adult soups to classified Vought documents. This is industrialized power creation. They're manufacturing gods without teaching them responsibility, discipline, or restraint. His finger stopped on a photograph of a young boy in a lab, tubes running into his arms, scientists in hazmat suits observing. The boy's eyes were red and puffy from crying. Who is this? That, Butcher said quietly, is John. Before he became Homelander. Raised in a lab. No mother, no father. Just scientists running tests, seeing how much damage he could take, teaching him he was superior to everyone. By age 7, he'd accidentally killed 3 researchers. By 15, he could level a building with his heat vision. Vought called it success. I call it creating a monster. Goku set down the vial carefully, as if it might explode. He never had a chance, never learned what strength was supposed to protect, never had a Master Roshi or King Kai to teach him discipline. His expression was deeply troubled. He's broken because they broke him. Doesn't make him less dangerous, Huey interjected, pulling up footage on a laptop. This is from 6 months ago. Homelander saved a plane hijacked by terrorists. Except his heat vision accidentally damaged the controls. The plane started going down. He could have saved people, flown them down a few at a time, or at least saved the kids. But instead, he told them they were all going to die and flew away. 143 people died because he couldn't admit he made a mistake. The footage showed Homelander's face through the plane window. Not regret, not horror, annoyance. He was annoyed that his image might be damaged. Vegeta's ki flared instinctively, or tried to. The energy sputtered, barely a spark. He slammed his fist on the table in frustration. This is intolerable. Fighting without Kai is like fighting with one arm. We need to understand this world's power system. Which brings us to the interesting question, Frenchie said, approaching with scientific curiosity lighting his features. You two hurt Homelander without Compound V in your systems. Our blood samples confirmed it. You're completely clean. So what are you? Scions, Goku explained, the word meaning nothing to his audience. We're an alien race. Back home, we're warrior people who get stronger through combat. Every time we nearly die and recover, we get a power boost. Zenkai, we call it. We can manipulate our life energy, transform into more powerful states, and even destroy planets if we're strong enough. Can, Vegeta emphasized bitterly, in our universe. Here, we're operating on base biology only. No energy manipulation, no transformations, just enhanced strength, speed, and durability that apparently still exceeds these Vought-made weaklings. Mother's Milk leaned forward. So, theoretically, if you could access your power here, we'd be unstoppable, Vegeta finished. Homelander's strength is impressive by local standards. By ours? He'd be mid-tier at best. I fought warriors who could destroy solar systems. Kakarot's defeated gods of destruction. That pathetic narcissist wouldn't last 30 seconds against us at full power. But you're not at full power, Butcher said, and it wasn't mocking. It was tactical assessment. Which means right now you're vulnerable. Homelander can fly, you can't. He's got heat vision that can cut through steel. He's invulnerable to conventional weapons. And he's got the entire Vought apparatus backing him. Billions in resources, government connections, media control, and 6 other superpowered teammates. Kimiko signed rapidly. Frenchie translated with a grim smile. She says, if Compound V gives powers in this universe, what happens if they take it? Everyone turned to look at the vials of blue liquid arranged on Frenchie's workbench. Goku spoke first. No. Kakarot. No, Goku repeated, more firmly. We don't take shortcuts to power. That's not who we are. We earn our strength through training, through discipline, through understanding our limits and surpassing them. Taking a drug to become strong? He shook his head. That's everything we stand against. Even if it means losing to Homelander? Huey asked quietly. Even if it means he kills more innocent people because you weren't strong enough to stop him? The question hit like a physical blow. Vegeta's jaw tightened. He'd asked himself similar questions before, when he'd allowed himself to be controlled by Babidi to gain power, when he'd pushed Goku to fight him even as Majin Buu destroyed the Earth. Shortcuts to power always had consequences. There has to be another way, Goku insisted. Our power comes from Ki. If we can find even a trace of it in this universe, we can work with that, amplify it. Or maybe... His eyes lit up with that particular spark that preceded either brilliance or catastrophe. Maybe we can train our bodies even harder to compensate. We've gotten complacent relying on transformations. But base form training, the kind Master Roshi taught me, the fundamentals. You want to get stronger through exercise? Butcher's laugh was incredulous. While Homelander's out there with powers he was born with? Mate, that's not a plan, that's suicide. Actually, Frenchie interrupted, his scientific mind clearly working through possibilities. It's not entirely foolish. Compound V grants abilities, yes, but it doesn't grant skill. Most Supas never train, why would they? They're already stronger than humans. But you two. He gestured at their scarred hands, their fighter's stance even at rest, the way their eyes constantly tracked potential threats. You're warriors, actual warriors. If you could combine your technique with enhanced physical capabilities, we'd be more dangerous than any Super Vought ever made, Vegeta finished, a predatory smile crossing his face. Because we'd have power and discipline, something these manufactured gods completely lack. A phone buzzed. Mother's Milk checked it, his expression darkening. We've got a problem. Vought just announced a press conference. Homelander's addressing the terrorist attack by 2 foreign superhuman threats. It's streaming in 2 minutes. Huey pulled up the feed on the laptop. The Vought Tower conference room appeared, sleek and corporate, with Homelander at the center flanked by the 7. His costume had been cleaned, his hair perfect, his smile that practiced expression of heroic concern. Behind him, Ashley Barrett, Vought's PR director, looked like she'd aged 10 years in the last hour. My fellow Americans, Homelander began, his voice carrying that resonant authority that had sold $1 billion in merchandise. Today, our great nation faced an unprecedented threat. 2 unidentified superhumans, clearly foreign agents, launched an unprovoked attack in downtown Manhattan. Their powers are unlike anything we've encountered, potentially extraterrestrial in origin. They demonstrated extreme violence, endangered civilian lives, and when confronted, fled like the cowards they are. He's lying, Goku said flatly. He attacked first. He didn't care about the people. Of course he's lying, Butcher agreed. But watch. Nobody calls him on it. The press conference continued. Homelander's performance was masterful, The concerned protector, the reluctant warrior, the hero who just wanted peace but would do whatever necessary to keep America safe. He showed edited footage of Vegeta's punch, slowed down and enhanced to look more brutal. He showed destruction from the fight, carefully framed to exclude his own heat vision damage. He held up a photo of a crying child, injured by debris, and promised that the Seven would bring these terrorists to justice. We believe these individuals are working with known terrorist organizations, Homelander continued, and Goku saw Butcher stiffen. Possibly the same group responsible for several recent attacks on Vought facilities and attempts to undermine America's superhero program. We're asking all citizens, if you see these individuals, do not approach. Contact Vought immediately. They are extremely dangerous. The screen split, showing photographs of Goku and Vegeta, clearly captured from surveillance footage during their fight. Their names appeared: Unknown Subject A and Unknown Subject B, armed and dangerous. Well, Vegeta said dryly, we're officially terrorists. How thrilling. This is bad, Mother's Milk said, already packing equipment. Homelander just turned the entire country against you. Every soupy, every cop, every civilian with a phone is going to be looking for you. You can't go public anymore. Can't stay in one place. You're hunted. Good, Goku said, surprising everyone. At their confused looks, he explained. I mean, it's not good that people think we're bad guys, but at least now we know where we stand. No more confusion about whether these heroes can be reasoned with. Homelander just declared war. Which brings us back to the fundamental problem, Butcher said, his strategic mind clearly working through scenarios. You two, even with your alien biology, can't beat the Seven. Not all of them at once. Not without powers. Homelander alone is a handful, and you've got Queen Maeve, who's actually trained in combat unlike the others, A-Train with his speed, Black Noir who's nearly Homelander's equal, Starlight who can project energy blasts, and whatever other assets Vought deploys. We've fought worse odds, Vegeta countered. With your powers, Huey reminded him gently. Here, you're strong, but mortal. They can wear you down. And eventually, they'll corner you somewhere public, force you to fight, and when civilians die in the crossfire, even if it's Homelander's fault, you'll be blamed. It's what they do. It's what they've always done. Goku stood, pacing the small space like a caged tiger. Everything in this universe felt wrong. The powerlessness, the corruption disguised as heroism, the way strength was divorced from virtue. In his world, the strong protected the weak or were overthrown. Here, the strong exploited the weak and were worshipped for it. What about Starlight? He asked suddenly. You said her name differently, like she's not completely evil. Huey's expression shifted to something complicated. Annie, Starlight, she's different. She actually believed the marketing. Grew up thinking she'd join the Seven and save people. Then she got there and discovered what it really was. Homelander assaulted her. The Deep forced himself on her. She's been trying to expose Vought from the inside, but he trailed off. They own her. Her contract, her image, her entire life. She tries to rebel. They threaten everyone she loves. A prisoner, Vegeta said quietly, understanding in his voice. Trapped by her own power. Which gives us leverage, Butcher said, his tactical mind seizing the opening. If we could turn her, get her to publicly testify about Vought's crimes. With you two as proof that Soups can be hurt? No, Goku interrupted. We're not using her as a weapon. If she's a prisoner, we help her escape. If she wants to fight Vought, that's her choice. But we don't manipulate people, even for a good cause. Butcher's smile was bitter. Principles. Going to get you killed in this world, mate. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared. Frenchie checked his security monitors, then swore in rapid French. We have company. Multiple heat signatures approaching. Moving fast. Very fast. The monitors showed figures dropping from the sky into the streets above. A-Train's distinctive blur. Black Noir's silent approach. And leading them, Cape billowing dramatically despite the underground location making that impossible, was Homelander. How did they find us? Mother's Milk demanded. Huey's face went pale as he checked his phone. Oh God. Oh no. They didn't find us. They found me. I've been tagged. Must have happened during my last infiltration of Vought Tower. They've been tracking me, waiting to see where I'd lead them. Horror flooded his features. I led them right to you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Doesn't matter. Vegeta cut him off, already moving toward the exit. Kakarot, we buy them time to escape. Hit hard. Retreat before they can coordinate. Agreed. Goku's expression shifted to something harder, the friendly martial artist becoming the warrior who'd faced down gods. But we're not killing anyone, no matter what. Even if it costs you? Butcher asked. Especially then, Goku replied. Because the moment we start killing to make things easier, we become just another version of Homelander. Power without restraint, strength without wisdom. He cracked his knuckles, that familiar gesture before every major fight. Besides, we've fought universe-destroying beings while holding back. A few lab-grown bullies? We've got this. The ceiling exploded inward. Homelander descended through the debris like an avenging angel, cape perfect, smile terrible. Behind him, the seven filed in with practiced precision. Black Noir, silent and deadly. A-Train vibrating with compound V-enhanced speed. Queen Maeve looking vaguely ashamed but compliant. Starlight with visible reluctance. And the Deep, who seemed confused about why he was even there. Well, well, Homelander said, his voice carrying that particular edge of someone who'd been personally insulted and planned to make everyone pay. The terrorists and their little friends. All together in one convenient location. It's like Christmas came early. His eyes began to glow red, and Goku and Vegeta, powerless in a universe without Kai, facing seven superhuman opponents in an enclosed space with innocent allies behind them, did what Saiyans always did when backed into a corner. They smiled. Because fighting impossible odds wasn't a challenge, it was their natural state. The first 3 seconds of the fight established a hierarchy that shocked everyone except the Saiyans themselves. A-Train, confident in his speed, blurred forward to deliver what should have been an incapacitating strike. Vegeta didn't even look at him, simply shifted his weight, and his elbow met the speedster's ribs with surgical precision. The crack echoed through the tunnel. A-Train went tumbling through reinforced concrete, his momentum turned against him by a warrior who'd fought speedsters that made him look like he was standing still. Simultaneously, Homelander's heat vision carved twin beams of destruction toward Goku. The Saiyan moved, not with ki-enhanced flight, but with pure combat instinct honed across 10,000 battles. He twisted, the beams scorching past him close enough that his GI smoldered, and closed the distance before Homelander could adjust. His fist drove into the soup's solar plexus with enough force to bend steel. Homelander's eyes widened in genuine shock as air exploded from his lungs. He'd been hit yesterday, yes, but he'd convinced himself it was a fluke. This wasn't a fluke. This was a trained warrior hitting weak points his invulnerable body had forgotten existed. "Butcher, get them out!" Goku shouted, already moving to intercept Black Noir's silent approach. The ninja-trained Supe was skilled. Goku could read that in his stance, his economy of motion. But skill without experience was just technique. Goku had fought martial artists for decades. Black Noir's knife thrust met empty air as Goku flowed around it, and a ridge hand strike to the nerve cluster in his shoulder made the soup's arm go temporarily numb. "You heard him!" Butcher was already hustling his team toward the emergency exit, Huey casting guilty looks back. "Move! Move!" Queen Maeve hesitated. She was watching two powerless aliens systematically dismantle the Seven using nothing but technique, and something in her expression suggested she was reevaluating every choice that had brought her to this moment. Then Homelander's glare found her, and she reluctantly moved forward. Her punch telegraphed enough that Vegeta could read it from across the room. He caught her fist, redirected the force, and used her own momentum to send her crashing into the deep. "You have actual training," Vegeta observed, his tactical mind processing even as he fought. "Why waste it serving a narcissistic child?" "You don't understand," Maeve gasped, scrambling up. "None of you understand what it's like to be trapped by your own power." Vegeta's smile was sharp and utterly without mercy. "I was a prince of a dead race, forced to serve the tyrant who destroyed my world. I murdered countless innocents because I was too weak to resist. So yes, I understand perfectly. He blocked Black Noir's follow-up strike without looking. The difference is, I chose to change. What's your excuse? Homelander's rage finally broke through his practiced heroic facade. Enough! The roar was primal, childish, the tantrum of a being who'd never been told no, and couldn't process the experience. His heat vision swept the room without precision, without care for collateral damage. Support beams melted, the ceiling cracked, water pipes burst, flooding the space. Goku saw what Vegeta saw in the same instant. The tunnel was collapsing, and the boys were still in the escape corridor. Without Kai, they couldn't sense exact positions, couldn't teleport to safety. They had to trust, to guess, to hope. Vegeta, the support beam. Both Saiyans moved as one, abandoning their individual fights to shoulder a massive steel beam that was about to crush the escape route. The weight was immense. Even their enhanced biology strained without Kai augmentation. Muscles screamed, joints popped. But the beam held, and through the gap, Butcher's team disappeared into darkness. Touching, Homelander said, and his heat vision carved through the beam between them, severing it. You actually care about the insects. How quaint. How weak. The tunnel section collapsed, sealing the escape route but also creating a wall between the boys and the Seven. Goku and Vegeta were trapped on the wrong side, water rising around their ankles, facing 7 increasingly angry soups in an enclosed space. Starlight stepped forward, and her hands began to glow with absorbed, light energy. Please, she said, and her voice carried genuine reluctance. Just surrender. You can't win this. Homelander will kill you, and She glanced at Homelander's manic expression. I don't want to watch that. Then don't watch, Goku said simply. Better yet, help us. You know we're not the bad guys here. For a moment, just a fleeting second, something shifted in her expression. Then Homelander's hand was on her shoulder, squeezing hard enough to bruise even her enhanced durability. Starlight, are you having doubts about who the real heroes are? No, she said quickly. Too quickly. I'm just saying. You're just following orders, Homelander finished, his smile a terrible thing. Like a good soldier, like a good hero, right? Goku watched the exchange and saw something he recognized from his own past. The moment before a good person makes a bad choice out of fear. He'd seen it in Krillin's eyes when facing Frieza, in Gohan's when confronting Cell. In his own reflection when he'd chosen to give Cell a senzu bean, so confident in his power that he'd endangered everyone. Starlight, he said gently, even as A-Train recovered and began circling for another attack. You don't have to be afraid of him. Fear is how tyrants control people. But you're stronger than... A-Train's charge was faster this time, more careful. He'd learned. But Vegeta had been analyzing his pattern, and the Saiyan Prince's counter was devastating. A perfectly timed trip that sent the speedster tumbling into the flooding water at velocity that turned surface tension into concrete. A-Train emerged, sputtering, his nose clearly broken. We were having a conversation, Vegeta said coldly. Interrupt again, and I'll break something more important than your face. Homelander's laugh was unhinged. You two are hilarious. You think technique matters? You think inspiring speeches change anything? He floated higher, his invulnerability making the rising water irrelevant. I'm a god. I can do whatever I want. And right now, I want to see you bleed. His heat vision came again, but this time with calculation. Not aimed at them, aimed at the weakened structural points Frenchie had identified in his security assessment. The tunnel began collapsing in earnest, water pouring in from the East River above, and suddenly the fight became about survival rather than victory. Kakarot! Vegeta's warning came as a support column gave way. Both Saiyans caught it, held it, their bodies forming living pillars while water rose past their knees. The 7 could fly or had enough durability to survive the collapse. Goku and Vegeta, without Kai, would drown under tons of concrete and river water. You see? Homelander's voice was almost gentle now, the violence soothing his fractured psyche. This is the difference between us. I'm evolution, you're extinction. I don't care about saving people, I care about being worshipped by them. And when you die here, crushed under your own heroic stupidity, I'll tell the world you were trying to destroy New York's infrastructure. They'll believe me. They always believe me. Goku's arms trembled with the weight of the column, but his voice was steady. You're right about one thing. We're different. Because even now, even knowing what you are, I still think you could change. Could choose to be better. That's the difference between someone who earned their strength and someone who had it injected into them. We know strength is supposed to make you kinder, not crueler. Something flickered in Homelander's expression. Not regret. He was too broken for that. But recognition. For just an instant, the mask dropped, and beneath the god complex was a child who'd never been loved, never been taught that power came with responsibility, never learned that strength without compassion was just another word for weakness. Then the moment passed, and the god complex returned. Black Noir, Homelander ordered. Finish them. The silent soup moved with lethal efficiency, blades emerging from hidden sheaths. He understood what Homelander wanted, not a fight, but an execution. The Saiyans were pinned, holding the structure to prevent total collapse, unable to defend themselves properly. Starlight's hands flared brighter. Homelander, this isn't right. They're helpless. They're enemies of America, Homelander corrected, his voice carrying that particular authority that had convinced millions. And enemies get eliminated. That's what heroes do, Starlight. Or are you not a hero anymore? The question hung like a guillotine blade. And Annie January, who'd become Starlight because she genuinely wanted to save people, who'd endured assault and humiliation and corruption because she'd believed in the system, who'd watched Homelander murder and destroy while being called a savior, finally made a choice. Her light blast hit Black Noir, sending the assassin sprawling. No, she said, her voice shaking but determined. Heroes don't execute helpless people. And I'm done pretending you're one. The tunnel went silent except for rushing water and settling debris. Homelander's smile disappeared. What did you just say to me? I said. Starlight's power flared brighter, fed by every light source in the collapsing tunnel, by the emergency lights, by the electrical systems. I'm done. I quit. And you can tell Vought, tell Ashley, tell whoever you want, but I'm not helping you murder people who are literally holding up a building to save lives. Queen Maeve straightened slowly. Something in her eyes suggested she'd been waiting years for someone else to say it first. She's right. This isn't heroism. It's just you being a vindictive child. The Deep looked confused. A-Train, still recovering from his broken nose, seemed to be reconsidering his life choices. Black Noir, silent as always, simply waited for orders. And Homelander, the most powerful being on the planet, faced open rebellion from his own team for the first time in his existence. His expression cycled through shock, hurt, rage, and finally settled on something terrifying, cold calculation. I see, he said quietly. You've all forgotten who you work for, who made you, who can unmake you. His smile returned, sharp as broken glass. That's okay, I'll remind you. He turned to Goku and Vegeta, still straining under the support column's weight. You wanted to be heroes? To show me what real strength looks like? Fine. Prove it. Hold that column while I kill your new friends. Show me that your principles are worth dying for. His heat vision targeted Starlight, and Goku, trapped between impossible choices, hold the column and watch an innocent die, or drop it and kill potentially hundreds in the flooding collapse. Felt something he hadn't experienced in years. True, complete helplessness. In his universe, there was always a transformation, always a technique, always some reservoir of power to draw on. Here, there was just flesh and bone and will. Here, heroism was measured not in explosions and spectacle, but in impossible moral calculus and personal sacrifice. Vegeta, he said quietly, if I drop my side, the entire eastern section collapses. Minimum 50 casualties from flooding alone. Vegeta's tactical mind had already done the math. We can't save everyone, Kakarot. Not without power. Then we choose, Goku said, and his voice carried the weight of every impossible decision he'd ever made. We hold the line. We trust Starlight to be strong enough to survive. Because the moment we let innocents die to save one person, we become what Homelander thinks we are, just another kind of monster. Homelander's heat vision intensified. Starlight raised her hands, knowing her shields wouldn't be enough. And Vegeta, the prince who'd destroyed countless worlds, who'd murdered innocents for a tyrant, who'd spent his entire life believing strength was the only thing that mattered, made a choice that would have shocked his younger self. Kakarot's right, he said. We hold, no matter what. The heat vision fired, and through the wall of collapsed debris, through tons of concrete and steel, something punched through with enough force to create a shockwave. A figure emerged, moving with impossible speed, and intercepted Homelander's attack with a shield? No, a massive piece of rebar, swung with precision that spoke to superhuman strength and zero regard for safety. Billy Butcher stood in the gap, covered in concrete dust, holding rebar like a baseball bat and grinning like a madman. Behind him, the boys emerged, carrying something that made Frenchie's eyes light up with scientific delight and Goku's stomach twist with moral complexity. Compound V, cases of it, enough to temporarily boost a baseline human to soup levels. Sorry, mates, Butcher said, cracking his neck. But we couldn't let you have all the fun. Besides, he pulled an injector filled with glowing blue liquid. If those two won't compromise their principles, somebody's got to get dirty. He slammed the injector into his arm, and Goku watched, horrified, as good people chose to become the very thing they were fighting against, all to save him. The compound Phi took effect immediately. Butcher's eyes glowed. His muscles swelled. Power, artificial, chemical, everything they'd refused flooded through him. Now then, Homelander, Butcher said, his voice distorted by the V coursing through his system. Let's see how you handle someone willing to fight as dirty as you. He launched himself at the Soupy with murderous intent. And the real war began. The tunnel became a war zone painted in blue electricity and red heat vision. Butcher's compound. Vi-enhanced body moved with shocking speed. Not trained, not refined, but powered by decades of hatred given superhuman expression. His punch caught Homelander across the jaw with enough force to actually turn the soup's head. Blood, actual blood, appeared at the corner of Homelander's mouth. That's for every person you've murdered while wearing that flag, Butcher snarled, and his follow-up strike carried the weight of personal vendetta. Every lie, every cover-up, every time Vought called you a hero while you were really just a cunt with powers. Homelander's counterattack was primal. No technique, no strategy, just overwhelming power unleashed with childish fury. His heat vision carved through support structures, his punches shattered concrete, and his complete disregard for collateral damage turned the already collapsing tunnel into a death trap. But he'd made a critical mistake. He'd assumed Butcher would fight alone. Mother's Milk, also V-enhanced, caught Homelander from behind in a chokehold that would have snapped a normal spine. Frenchie, moving with chemically induced speed, deployed flashbangs that exploited Homelander's superhearing. Even Huey, terrified but determined, had injected himself and was using his newfound strength to help Goku and Vegeta with the support column. "We've got this," Huey shouted, his arms trembling but holding. "Go! Help them!" Goku looked at Vegeta. The Saiyan Prince's expression was conflicted. Pride warring with pragmatism, their principles confronting ugly reality. They'd refused the easy power, held their moral line, and now good people were sacrificing their humanity to save them. "This is wrong," Goku said, but he released the column, trusting Huey's V-enhanced strength to compensate. "They shouldn't have to," but they did, Vegeta cut him off, already moving toward where A-Train was recovering for another charge. "So we honor their choice by making it count. We end this, now." The fight split into chaos. Queen Maeve, apparently deciding that open rebellion was preferable to complicity, turned on the Deep with an efficiency that suggested she'd been waiting years for permission to hit him. "This is for every time you made a joke about sexual assault," she said, and her punch sent him through a wall into the flooded section beyond. Starlight's energy blasts kept Black Noir off balance, her light powers fed by the electrical fires spreading through the tunnel. "I trained my whole life for this," she shouted at the silent assassin. "Real training, not just Compound V. Let's see which matters more." A-Train tried to use his speed against Vegeta, but the Saiyan Prince had spent years fighting opponents who could move faster than light. Speed without technique was just flashy movement. Vegeta's counter was surgical, a strike to the speedster's knee that hyperextended the joint, followed by a nerve cluster hit that shut down his super speed temporarily. Your power is wasted on you, Vegeta said coldly. Speed like that should be earned through training, through pushing your body past its limits. You just took a drug and called yourself special. Screw you, A-Train spat, but there was pain in his eyes beyond the physical. You don't know what it's like here. The pressure, the expectations, the constant fear that you'll be replaced by someone younger, faster, more marketable. I didn't ask for this power. Vought injected me as a baby. Vegeta paused. The words struck too close to his own past. A child raised as a weapon, given power without choice, shaped by a system that valued strength over character. Then choose now, he said quietly. Choose to be better than what they made you. Before A-Train could respond, Homelander's scream of rage cut through every other sound. Butcher had gotten under his skin, literally. The Compound 5 had given the Brit enough strength to actually hurt the invincible hero, and decades of untouchable superiority were crumbling under an onslaught of pure, distilled hatred. I'm a god! Homelander shrieked, his heat vision sweeping wildly. I'm perfect! You're a scared little boy, Goku said, suddenly in his face. Without Kai, he couldn't teleport, but he could still read movements, anticipate attacks, and move with the kind of precision that came from mastering martial arts across a lifetime. His palm strike to Homelander's solar plexus emptied the soup's lungs mid-rant. And you know what? That's okay. Being scared is normal. Being broken isn't your fault. But what you do with that brokenness, that's your choice. Homelander's eyes widened. Nobody had ever acknowledged his pain while simultaneously refusing to excuse his actions. It was a combination his fractured psyche couldn't process. Rage? He could handle rage. Fear? He fed on fear. But compassion mixed with accountability? He started, and for just a moment, the mask cracked fully. I didn't ask to be made this way. They raised me in a lab, ran tests, hurt me, taught me I was superior and inferior simultaneously, made me a product. I just wanted to be loved, Goku finished gently. I know, everyone wants that. But you can't force people to love you through fear. That's not love. That's just making them lie to you. Something in Homelander's expression shifted. 30 years of conditioning, of narcissism, built as armor against pain, of violence used to fill the void where human connection should have been, all of it visible for just an instant. He looked at Goku with something approaching genuine emotion. Then Butcher's V-enhanced fist caught him in a kidney shot that would have dropped a lesser being, and the moment shattered. Don't you dare, Butcher snarled at Goku. Don't you dare try to redeem this monster. He's murdered hundreds, raped women, destroyed lives. There's no saving him. There's only stopping him. There's always a chance, Goku started. No. Butcher's roar carried years of grief. My wife. He raped my wife. She got pregnant with his child, and when the baby's powers manifested, it laser-visioned her from the inside out. She died screaming, because of him. He pointed at Homelander with a trembling hand. So you can take your second chances and your redemption arcs and shove them. Some people don't deserve mercy. The tunnel went silent except for dripping water and settling debris. Goku had no answer. He'd always believed in second chances, had given them to Piccolo, to Vegeta, to Majin Buu. But he'd also watched those same second chances cost lives. His decision to let Vegeta live had led to the deaths of thousands when the prince returned. His choice to give Kel a Senzu bean had nearly resulted in Earth's destruction. His mercy toward Frieza had... How many times had his compassion been the right choice? And how many times had it been naive? Kakarot, Vegeta said quietly, reading his friend's expression. This isn't our universe. We don't have the Dragon Balls to undo our mistakes. We can't sense if he's genuine or manipulating. We're fighting blind in every sense that matters. Homelander, recovering from Butcher's attack, looked between them. His strategic mind, often hidden behind bravado but razor-sharp when needed, saw the opportunity. That's right. You don't belong here. You don't understand our rules. This is my world, and in my world, I'm God. His heat vision fired at maximum intensity, not at Goku or Butcher, but at the weakened support structure. The tunnel's remaining integrity gave way catastrophically. Tons of concrete, steel, and East River water came crashing down. "Everyone out!" Starlight screamed, her light powers creating a desperate shield. "The whole thing's coming down!" But they were too deep, too far from the exits, and the collapse was too complete. The compound Vi gave the boys enhanced durability, but not invulnerability. Starlight's shields were already cracking. Queen Maeve was strong, but couldn't hold back an entire river. Goku made a decision. "Vegeta, brace positions. We're the pillars. Kakarot, without Kai we can't. We're Saiyans." Goku's voice carried absolute certainty. "We've survived planet explosions, fought gods, endured training that should have killed us. Our bodies are stronger than anyone here understands. We can do this. We just have to be willing to." Vegeta stared at him for a long moment, then nodded. Both Saiyans positioned themselves at critical structural points, their bodies becoming living support beams as the tunnel collapsed around them. Concrete slammed into their shoulders. Steel beams pressed against their spines. Water pressure threatened to crush their skulls. But they held, without transformations, without energy attacks, without any of the powers that had defined them for decades. Just two warriors, their bodies pushed past theoretical limits by nothing more than will and Saiyan biology, holding back a catastrophe through pure physical endurance. "Go!" Goku screamed, his voice barely audible over the roar of destruction. "Everyone get out while we hold it." The boys moved first, Butcher practically carrying Huey while his temporary V enhancement lasted. Starlight guided the civilians who'd been trapped in the tunnel. Queen Maeve pulled A-Train, still hostile but injured, toward safety. Even the Deep, confused and frightened, swam through the flooding water toward an exit. Homelander floated above it all, watching with an expression that cycled through emotions too fast to track. He could leave, could escape, could tell the world his version of events, that the terrorists caused the collapse, that he tried to save them, that he was the hero. Or, "Why?" he asked, and for once there was no performance in his voice. Just genuine incomprehension. "Why would you sacrifice yourselves for people you don't even know? For people who'd believe I was the hero anyway? Why does being strong mean you have to save everyone?" Goku, his entire body screaming in pain as concrete pressed down with crushing force, managed a bloody smile. Because that's what strength is for. Not to be worshipped, not to take whatever you want, but to protect people who can't protect themselves, even people who don't understand. Even people who'd believe lies about you, especially them. "That's insane," Homelander whispered. "No," Vegeta grunted, his own body at its absolute limit. "That's what it means to be a warrior. Real warriors don't fight for glory or worship. We fight because someone has to stand between the innocent and the darkness, even when it costs us everything." Something in Homelander's expression cracked. Not redemption. He was too broken for that, too far gone, too damaged by decades of conditioning and trauma. But recognition. For the first time in his existence, he was seeing what actual heroism looked like, divorced from marketing and manufactured image. It looked like two aliens holding up a collapsing tunnel with bleeding hands. It looked like choosing to die so others could live. It looked like nothing he'd ever been taught. He started to speak, stopped, started again. "I could help. I'm strong enough to hold the tunnel. I could..." "Then do it," Goku said simply. "Not because we're asking, not because it makes you look good, but because it's right." Homelander hesitated. 30 years of narcissism versus one moment of genuine moral clarity. His hands trembled. His perfect facade cracked. And for just an instant, the lab-raised weapon who'd never known love, never learned compassion, never understood that power came with responsibility. He chose. Homelander's hands pressed against the collapsing structure beside theirs. His invulnerable body took the weight that was crushing the Saiyans. And together, The three most powerful beings in the tunnel held back catastrophe until the last civilian escaped. Then Homelander flew away without a word, disappearing into the smoke and darkness, leaving Goku and Vegeta to collapse in the debris as their bodies finally gave out. They woke in a Vought medical facility, which should have been terrifying but wasn't. Starlight sat beside their beds, still in costume but with her mask off, looking exhausted. "You're alive," she said, and relief flooded her voice. "The doctor said your biology is unlike anything they've seen. Healing factor comparable to Soup's, maybe better. You've been out for 3 days." "Homelander?" Vegeta asked immediately. "Gone. He gave a press conference claiming he saved everyone from a terrorist attack, but..." She smiled slightly. "The footage shows what really happened. Social media has the truth. Vought's trying to spin it, but you can't unsee two unknown heroes holding up a tunnel while Homelander fled. Public opinion is shifting." Goku tried to sit up, winced, and lay back down. "The boys? Safe. Butcher's V wore off. He's back to being baseline human and angrier than ever that he owes you. Huey wants to thank you." Said, and I quote, "Those aliens got bigger balls than sense." Starlight's expression grew serious. "But you need to understand. Vought wants you. The government wants you. Every soup in the world is talking about the two who can fight Homelander without powers. You're not safe here." "We're never safe," Vegeta said with dark humor. "That's what makes it interesting." A knock at the door. Billy Butcher entered, looking deeply uncomfortable with what he was about to say. "Right. So, you didn't take the V. You held your moral line even when it would have made everything easier. You tried to redeem Homelander, which was stupid, but you did it. And you..." He struggled with the words. "You saved my team. Again." "You're welcome," Goku said simply. "I'm not thanking you," Butcher corrected sharply. "I'm saying I was wrong. About you two, at least. You're not weapons. You're not soups. You're something else entirely." He pulled out a folder. "Frenchie's been analyzing your biology. He thinks the reason you can't access your ki here is because this universe's fundamental physics are different. But he also thinks that means your power might adapt, evolve. If you stay long enough, your bodies might learn to convert this universe's energy sources into your native power structure." Vegeta sat up despite his injuries. "How long?" "Could be months. Could be years. Could be never." Butcher shrugged. "Point is, you've got a choice. We can help you try to get home. Frenchie thinks a combination of Vought's dimensional tech and your weird alien biology might create a portal. Or..." He met their eyes. "You stay. You fight. You show this corrupt world what real heroes look like." Goku and Vegeta exchanged glances, that wordless communication perfected through decades of partnership. "Our families," Goku started. "Time moves differently between dimensions," Frenchie interrupted, entering with scientific excitement. "1 year here might be 1 day there, or vice versa. We can't know without testing." "That's reassuring," Vegeta said dryly. Starlight leaned forward. "I know I don't have the right to ask, but this world needs you. Needs someone who can stand up to Homelander, to Vought, to the entire corrupt system. Someone who can't be bought or blackmailed or killed. Someone who actually believes in heroism instead of just performing it." "We're not heroes," Goku said quietly. "I've made too many mistakes. Vegeta's done terrible things. We're just..." "You held up a collapsing tunnel to save strangers?" Starlight interrupted. "You tried to redeem someone irredeemable. You refused easy power to maintain your principles. That's more heroic than anything I've seen in this world." Her voice broke slightly. "Please. If you leave, Homelander wins. The system wins. Everything goes back to corporate-controlled heroes and manufactured consent and compound V-babies. But if you stay..." "If we stay, we become symbols," Vegeta finished. "Evidence that strength can be earned, not just injected. That power comes with responsibility. That heroes aren't products manufactured in labs." "Yes," Starlight said simply. Goku looked at the ceiling, thinking of Chi-Chi, Goten, his friends on Earth. Then he thought of the people in this universe, trapped in a system that turned heroes into weapons and worship into profit. He'd spent his life protecting Earth. Maybe it was time to protect a different Earth, at least until they found their way home. We stay, he decided, but on our terms. We don't work for Vout, we don't work for the government, we don't kill unless absolutely necessary, and we do things our way, earning power through training, protecting people who need it, and teaching this universe that heroism isn't a product. Vegeta nodded slowly. Agreed, but I have one condition. What's that? Butcher asked suspiciously. When we do get home, I'm telling Bulma about this insane universe where heroes are corporate mascots and the strongest being is an emotionally stunted manchild. She'll find it hilarious. Despite everything, the pain, the uncertainty, the moral complexity, Goku laughed. It was a sound this dark universe desperately needed. Outside the window, the city sprawled beneath them, corrupt and beautiful and waiting for something to believe in. Somewhere out there, Homelander was processing what he'd witnessed. Vought was calculating how to spin it. The boys were planning their next move against corporate superhero culture. And two Saiyans, powerless in a universe without Kai, chose to stay and fight anyway. Because that's what warriors did. They stood between the innocent and the darkness, no matter the cost. The war for the boys' universe's soul had begun. In the weeks that followed, Goku and Vegeta became symbols, not through Vought's marketing but through action. They trained publicly in parks, demonstrating that strength could be earned through discipline rather than injected. They intervened in soup-caused disasters, showing that heroism meant protecting people, not corporate interests. They refused every Vought contract, every government recruitment, every attempt to commodify their existence. Most importantly, they never stopped being warriors. Vegeta sparred with Queen Maeve, teaching her combat techniques that didn't rely on compound V-enhanced strength. Goku worked with Starlight, showing her that her light powers were just tools. Her character was the real power. Even A-Train, broken and uncertain, found himself drawn to their training sessions, discovering that speed without purpose was just running away. Homelander watched from Vout Tower, his psyche fracturing further each day. He'd held that tunnel, had chosen right, had felt something like genuine heroism for exactly 3 seconds. And now, he couldn't unsee the difference between what he was and what he could have been. The rage festered, the narcissism rebuilt. But underneath, something had fundamentally changed. Butcher and the boys found unlikely allies in the two Saiyans, though the British bastard would rather die than admit it. Together, they worked to expose Vought's crimes, to document soup abuses, to slowly erode the corporate stranglehold on heroism itself. And every night, Goku meditated, reaching for Kai that wasn't there, trusting that eventually his body would adapt. That eventually, their universe would call them home. That eventually, this nightmare world would remember what heroes were supposed to be. Vegeta stood beside him, pride intact but perspective forever altered. They'd been gods in their universe. Here, they were just warriors with discipline and principle, fighting impossible odds against systemic corruption. It felt right. Somewhere in the multiverse, Whis noticed 2 of his students missing and smiled knowingly. They'd learn more in this trial than 1,000 training sessions could teach. Power without the key to use it. Heroism without the recognition. Strength measured not in explosions but in choices. When they finally returned home, and they would, they'd be different. Better. The kind of warriors who understood that true strength wasn't about destroying planets, but about holding up collapsing tunnels. Not about transformations, but about standing firm when everything demanded you compromise. The boys' universe would never be the same, and neither would Goku and Vegeta, because sometimes being powerless reveals exactly how powerful you really are.